Boom, it's TSX. The so-called experts, we're back again. We are not in King George Square. It was a bit nerve-wracking last week with all these old people walking
You were
past.
rattled, weren't you?
I was a bit rattled, yeah. I didn't even listen back to it, to be honest. And the pigeons. Were there any pigeons?
Funnily enough, hello, it's Rafe Griffin here, by the way.
I'm Phil Davis.
Funnily enough, none of that background noise got picked up. We could have just been on a quiet suburban street. No
really?
buses. There was a lot of noise going on, but
Yeah.
the magic of the microphone didn't pick up any of it in the background.
Were there any pigeons? I don't remember. When I used to go into King George Square years ago, there used to be a fountain in the middle.
I was about to say, I think that's when the fountain was there.
Yeah, I've been swimming in that fountain.
Oh, no. What, at 2 o'clock in the morning, no doubt?
No, at midnight on
At
New Year's.
mercy, I was close.
New Year's Eve. I mean, that's what you do. Someone had filled it with washing powder.
Yeah, that was the old trick, yeah.
Yeah, and also some food colouring. I was food colouring. It had nothing to do with me. But, yeah, it was great. It was interesting being there, actually, because I've been in there for quite some time, and it's just a concrete kind of ugly behemoth these days.
Yeah, written, paid and authorised by Phil Davis of Logan, by the way. You don't not even a bloody ratepayer anymore.
We should put a football field there. Wouldn't that be great?
Hey, by the way, I keep on forgetting to mention, if you are listening to this podcast, you can subscribe to it via iTunes.
Oh, really?
So search on the washing line on your favourite podcasting device of choice or whatever.
Yeah.
Search for the washing line so you don't have to watch it through YouTube on your computer.
Yeah.
You can listen to it on the train or the bus or whatever you're doing in your own casual time.
I listened to it in the car through YouTube. I keep getting reminders saying 1.5 gigabytes of your allowance has been used.
All right, enough talk about what we get up to outside of here.
Outside of here?
Let's talk about round 13 of the Flight Centre Premier League.
Very, very interesting round of football. It was a lot of draws, which is not something you get a lot of in the local league because it's so attacking. And, I don't really know why we don't get a lot of draws. Why don't we get a lot of draws, Rav?
Because we don't get a lot of draws.
Okay. That's why you're a so-called expert. The first game was Park Hawks 1, Lions FC 2. And who's the man?
Well, it was looking sweet there for Holland Park again to beat Lions for the second time in a row after 80 minutes. And then some coach decides to selfishly bring himself on.
Yeah, some young
play
upstart.
the star.
Yeah.
And apparently he played a major part in both goals that were scored for his side.
Indeed, 2 corners, whipped them in, and Brody Kenyon now, wasn't that one out of the hat?
Surprised to see him on the team sheet, weren't we?
We were surprised, yeah.
Last we knew he was very happy at Western Spirit.
Western Spirit weren't very happy anymore.
Oh, I bet you they're not either.
They got beat 4-1 by Slacks Creek.
Yeah.
Fed Hagic and Kenyon, late goals from Moon corners, and of course Warren Moon has history. He's done that before for Peninsula Power, I believe.
Yes.
It was in the grand final against Wolves.
You've got a good memory. So, yeah, it was looking really good that Holland Park were going to close the gap in the premiership race. Not to be in the end.
Not to be in. I'm suggesting that Lions FC may have wrapped up the title with that. I know I keep saying it, but that loss, and if they had lost to Holland Park, well...
We'll talk more about that next week when the league resumes.
Oh, yeah, there was a week off this weekend for the league, for people who don't know. The next game was Rochdale Rovers 3, Capalaba 0. I confidently predicted Capalaba would win that.
I think I picked Capalaba as well, but I was at this game.
Yes.
And when you looked at the team lineups with no Mojica Rodriguez, who was out with suspension, Sargent and Davis also out.
Yep.
As we'll come to later on, I spoke to Scott McNichol. It was more a safety thing for the FFA Cup game coming up. But Capalaba just looked a bit out enthused and didn't look in the match at all, unfortunately. I just wonder whether perhaps that they've been on this amazing run and perhaps they've been on a high for quite some time and maybe that high has just hit them. So it might actually be a good time for them to have a bit of a break and reassess things. Greg Cheshire with a double and Jared Gore, who came on for Daryl Grant, who was stretched off, scored the other goal.
And Daryl Grant, I believe, is fine.
Daryl Grant
Why was he stretching off? Was he a bit tired?
Mac is saying he wanted a bit of TV time, even though there were no cameras there, a bit of attention.
Yeah.
The boy from Manchester.
Oh, yeah. They're really going to need Daryl Grant. He said, well, we'll talk about that later. Well, the next game of the round, North Pine Sports Club 0, Peninsula Power 0, and absolutely nobody on the whole entire planet predicted that result.
I'm going to play you back a piece that you said last week. But the local derby aspect will add a bit of spice into it.
The local derby aspect is the only possible aspect that can cause anybody to think they're going to win, because Peninsula are going to slaughter North Pine, and we know it.
Peninsula are going to slaughter North Pine, someone said last week, Phil.
Well, what did you think?
Well,
I mean, they lost 8-0 to Capalaba a week before.
You didn't even give me an opportunity to give me a tip because you assumed that I was going for Peninsula, which was the correct assumption.
The correct assumption, yes.
But look, to be honest, on the highlights, North Pine hit the post twice. They could quite easily have come away from this game with all 3 points. They were actually the better team, on the highlights.
Well, that's what Darren said. And of course, we didn't believe that, him being a North Pine supporter and all. But, look, Peninsula is still a riddle wrapped in a conundrum, I mean,
we thought they were coming good, and then this happens again.
The next game was Eastern Suburbs versus Mitchelton, a 1-1 draw. And I think East will be reasonably happy, won't they, to get a result like that?
Oh, I don't know about that. Jared Lancaster scored in the 34th minute, and then immediate reply from Jacob Mitchell and Mitchelton in the 35th.
And Jared Lancaster
turned devil. Gone with 15 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Look, my take on it is that East really needed the 3 points from that one to stay in touch with the finals race. So, it's another result that they can ill afford to get in if they want to keep their season alive. Wow. And now worse, potentially, with Carter Glockner leaving the club.
Well, Mitchelton, I don't know. Look, it's the Eastern Suburbs are the other conundrum, but Mitchelton, that could cost them the last chance at title as well. You'd think so. But I think everyone's racing for second, but you can't tell because there's so many good teams this year. I guess neither team would really be happy, would they? 1-1?
No, well, on the face of it, those two teams probably pretty even, so a draw is probably a fair result. But in terms of where they want to be, both sides would have been clamouring for the 3 points.
Indeed. Now, look, there was another draw that happened this weekend. 4 draws in a row, actually. But Ipswich Knights 2, Logan FC 2 out at Eric Evans Oval. Someone scored first. Who scored first for Ipswich?
Mitch Davis.
Mitch Davis, a good name. I love seeing that name on the score sheet.
And then the Sherwood brothers replied for Logan, both of them.
Yep, both of them. And then Andy Butler proved he's a great goalkeeper.
Well, I'm still in I'm still stunned by that. As I said in the commentary, Maradona would have been proud of that effort.
Well, look, it was a clear handball. We all saw it. There's no way you can sugarcoat it.
It's a bit of banter between he and the Sherwood brothers about it, what a great header it was on social media.
But he was getting shoved from behind, and I think a last-ditch effort to do what he could to stop Andy Butler from scoring, and I think it pushed him off balance, and he would have scored with his head, I mean, he was right there, and we know he's a great finisher, Andy Butler, but that's football, and I would be loath to blame the referee because
it's a tough angle, and the linesman wouldn't probably would have had Andy Butler's body in front of it as well. Yeah. So.
But nonetheless, I'm sure Logan are not happy.
Another late equaliser from Ipswich Knights on a Sunday afternoon. And look, Logan are in a similar situation to East where they needed the 3 points out of that one to keep their finals hopes alive. So
absolutely. And look, I think that could really toss Logan because they are not that far away. I don't think the likes of Albany Creek, we'll talk about in a second, can make it to the top 4. But I think Logan can, but they just need to go on a run. But 2 very, very important points. And I'm sure our friend Mr. Croydon wouldn't have been happy when he watched that. Were there complaints from the players on the field?
Only, and here's the.
Oh, that's right. You said in the commentary that Lucas Wilson complained about it. He plays for Ipswich.
No. Tommy. So there's one thing. Tommy Torshock back in the competition.
That's who the defender was. Yes.
And for Logan Lightning, and as you said, Lucas Wilson has tapped at his arm to the crowd and to the people in the grandstand. He wouldn't make a good poker player.
No, he wouldn't. But that was that's the way things wound up. The last game of the weekend, UQFC won. Zenon Franks scored for UQFC, which to me is not a great sign because he's a centre-back or a left-right full-back sometimes. And
not a good sign for who? Because who scored the goal for Albany Creek?
Well, this is true. Albany Creek, they also... Adam Pittock.
So obviously two set piece situations probably.
Well, you would imagine they'd both be set pieces, and unfortunately for Adam Pittock, it didn't turn out like the last one at Logan. But I don't know. Look, it's good. I was obviously following that online all the way through, and I was just like, I really wanted the students to get that.
Yeah,
you know,
would have been their first win since round 2, ironically, where they beat Albany Creek in their last win.
Yep, and you just, if they can get that little bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence, you think that they can actually cause trouble for the other teams.
Yeah,
I don't think they can claw their way out of relegation. Who knows? Maybe they can. There's a couple other teams down the bottom, but it would be good to see the teams going to play UQ or just welcoming them to their grounds with the knowledge that it's not going to be a walk in the park, which football never is, of course.
So, as you said, 4 draws. And
Yes.
So Lions head back out to a 3-point lead on top of the table, still with a game in hand against Wk15. Mitchelton in second on 25. Then Rochedale have leapfrogged up into third on 23. Then Capella, Peninsula and Holland Park all on 22. We've talked about Logan and East, 18 and 17 respectively. Starting to get a little bit out of touch.
Yeah.
I've got Albany Creek still in there with 15, but Ipswich Knights on 12, UQFC on 8 and North Pine on 7. I think those 3 sides can rule themselves out of finals contention.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely ruled out. And I've ruled out Albany Creek as well. I don't think they can do it from there. You could catch up that amount of points, but there's too many teams in between. There's just too many variables for them to catch up, so I'll be ruling them out. That's... but it's shaping up to be another fine end of Logan. Just when we thought the title was back on.
But there is very important business. There's not a lot of games on the weekend.
Oh, there's not a lot. There's a Capital 4 round, of course.
Yes, but the cream of the crop. Is it Friday yet? I know we're recording this on Wednesday. I wish it was Friday. I've been sleepless all week, waiting like a kid in a candy store.
Yes, well, I'm... As I say, with the Westfield FFA Cup, it's the last qualifying games. We've got BPL versus NPL in both games. Arguably, you couldn't say the best teams from each league, but some of the better teams from each league. And they could go either way. And it's very, very exciting indeed. I'm planning on taking the bus with Rochedale. I don't have to be neutral for this.
Don't you?
Well, I don't think I do. I support Football Brisbane. This is a Football Brisbane podcast. And Football Brisbane written on my shirt, I mean, obviously, if the NPL team goes through to the round of 32, I'll be following them because they're Brisbane. But, it's kind of like, I won't be neutral now. I'll be going for the Brisbane Premier League sides.
So let's not dance around it anymore. Friday night, Cleveland Showgrounds, 7 p.m. The PlayStation 4 NPL Queensland's Redlands up against the Flight Centre Premier League's Rochedale Rovers.
Oh, yes, indeed. Now, you know quite a bit about Redlands United. Tell us all about Redlands. Where's their strengths and how are they going to win this game?
Yeah, I saw them on Friday night last against Gold Coast City where they came from behind to grab a 4-2 win. Nico Beshar, when he was on, that's when Redlands really fired. Apparently he was very good in their game against the New Zealand national team a couple of weeks ago. But, they've got game changers like Michael Lee. He spotted the Gold Coast keeper off the line and just launched one from 35 yards. And it's just that sort of intuition and natural ability to try and work out, what are the right situations they've got in those game changers like Michael Lee, Nico Beshar. Matt Lugo, the keeper, Brendan White's out injured at the moment, so Lugo deputising. He's been pretty good, but he just had a couple of
special moments,
lackadaisical moments on Friday night, and it's expected that Graham Fife will probably start on the bench. He's got a few injury concerns at the moment. He played half an hour on Friday night, and of course, as we know, we're well aware, Alistair Davis has come there in recent weeks, and he was the 2015 Golden Boot in the Premier League and the Brisbane Premier League last year. So he's still gelling into the system there. So, yeah, it's a matter of those sort of match winners that...
Is he cup tied?
He is not cup tied.
No? Okay.
No.
Well, that's interesting. You got out and talked to Matt Chandler, I believe.
I did. I caught up with him during the week. Let's hear his thoughts on what he thinks about his opponents and... his capabilities of his side.
Oh, I think they're a good team. I don't think we saw the full Rochdale squad or team that will play against us on Friday night. But look, I saw enough to know a bit about them. Look, I was quite impressed. It was a reading of. I didn't get as much as I would like to see what they were like, and I didn't really get a full. I didn't think they got tested fully. That would be the best example of what I would saw that day. Yeah, Graham's 50-50. I mean, at the moment we've got Brendan White, Graham Eagle. Michael Lee has just come back and played very well on Friday, as you're aware. We have a number of injuries we've been managing, but we're getting over the other side of those injuries now. Stephen should be back the following week. So we're getting into a better place than we have over the last 2 to 3 weeks. But in the last 2 to 3 weeks, I think we've still been picking up results and grinding the results out with the group. It's been good.
Could that well be the difference at the end of the day, that perhaps you've got a couple of players that can, sort of break the match open?
Yeah, no, I think that will be and could be the defining part of the game, is that we have a couple of players that can really change the game and turn it on its head real quick. But I think we've got to defend efficiently, and we've been doing that in recent weeks. So I think that's just as important as our game changes, is how we defend as well.
So that was the Redlands coach, Matt Chandler. I guess you're going to take the Roachdale side and talk us through that.
Well, look, Roachdale are playing really well at the moment. They're in form. They couldn't have a better time, really, to be in this game. And it's massive for the club, because we know that if this competition had been around in the era when they had that super team, they would have been Brisbane's representative. There's no question around that. They were miles ahead of everyone else. Now, the way they're looking at the moment, what players are crucial? There's a lot of crucial players for me. Luke Howell and Uryu Nagata in the centre at the back. They are very underrated. I don't think people realise just how well they play together, particularly Nagata. He's one of them. Well, look, I actually think he's the best centre-back running around in the game, in Brisbane Premier League. But they need Lewis Cameron to make an impact. He didn't really make an impact against Moreton Bay United. It looked to me like they were actually three-man targeting him. Now, I don't know why. I'm not sure why. Paul Mooney is going to be vital, because Paul Mooney controls the game. I'll tell you now, if Redlands give up free kicks anywhere within 30 yards, they are in trouble. They are going to be strong on set pieces. Also, the game against Moreton Bay United, Seiji Shizuno was poor, and there's no dancing around it. He didn't play very well. He got taken off. If he can step up, because when he plays well, he was one of the best midfielders in Brisbane. So let's hope he's pumped for that. I think they'll all be pumped for it. Scott Sargent is going to be pumped for it. I think everyone's just going to be ready. If there's any weakness, it might be depth. But with Ryan Falkney, he's an ideal reserve or substitute, because he can sort of slot in, but he has a really high work rate as soon as he hits the field. For me, Roachdale can win this game, and they can lose it themselves. I would hate to see injuries. And we were very worried about Darryl Grant last week. I think if Darryl Grant brings his A game, I think he will be the most important player.
Well, before we get our predictions,
yes,
let's hear from Roachdale Rovers coach Scott McNichol.
As I said, I went and had a good look at them. They've signed some pretty handy players again this year. They play to their strengths. As I said, they're very good at going and getting in one-on-ones and getting out their fullbacks. The teams that they play against, their fullbacks. And their midfield work very hard too. They do what they're good at, like most teams do, which are up near the top of the ladder. And yeah, it's going to be a difficult game for us. Yeah, we don't have like a genuine number 9, as you would say, in the comp, so like some other teams do. But we do have very good frontline players, and Turo's come in. He's bagged a few in the games he's played. Chester's scored a couple recently. Lewis is always dangerous when he gets one-on-one with his wide man. So. We do need someone to step up and put a few away, but that's one area that we don't have a genuine number 9. But as I said, the three boys that have played have all done their job, and then even Robbie Armstrong on the weekend sat him through the middle, and he did quite well too. And so we just maybe need our midfield to take a bit of pressure off and start banging a few goals as well. With Scotty and Seiji getting a few. I know Big Mooney's already got a few, so. If we can take a bit of pressure off those boys as well. But as I said, they're doing well in the positions they're playing and providing as well too, which is the main thing.
So that was Roachdale Rovers coach Scott McNichol. So he has confirmed that Jose Mojica Rodriguez will be back into the squad after he was suspended last week. He rested Scott Sargent and Phil Davis last week as well, and all clear.
Oh, I forgot Phil Davis.
And all clear with Phil Grant.
He's probably the most vital player of the weekend.
And all clear with Darryl Grant, who was stretched off, but everything's fine. So McMack has got a full squad to pick from.
Yeah. It's really, really bizarre calling the name Phil Davis. Can you imagine talking about Rafe Griffin in the third party?
I do it all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure you do when you're in the shower. Anyway.
Come on, what's your prediction? What's your tip?
Okay, I'm going to tip Rochdale to win. And that's not because I'm biased. I'm going to tip Rochdale to win, and I think they will win. Look, I think Redlands have definitely got a goal in them, but I think Rochdale will win 2-1.
I'm going to go Redlands because of those match winners that they have in their side they've talked about. Scotty did talk about that he does have, a lack of a genuine number 9 there, but they do have scoring options across the park. He wants Scott Sargent to pick up. Right. I just think Redlands because of those match winners, but if Rochdale gets that first goal, like they did against Lions a couple of weeks ago, they'll defend the hell out of the game. And I think that first goal, as I said last week against Capella Bar, will be crucial. I think it'll be crucial again here this week.
I think we both agree it could go either way.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah. And that's what makes it. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of these two games this
weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but either of them, So the next game of the weekend will be on Sunday at 5 o'clock at Lions Stadium, I believe. 5 o'clock Lions Stadium, Lions FC versus Brisbane Strikers. Now, everyone has wanted this to happen, haven't they?
Oh, and first of all, let's go back to that previous game. Yeah. We're going to get one team that hasn't been in the final 32 before.
Indeed we are.
And here we are. This is a cutthroat one of these teams that were both in it last year, and the Strikers are now going for third year in a row.
Yep.
They're not going to be in the final 32, one of these sides this year.
Yep. And look, it's at Lions Stadium. Big advantage. Look, with in complete honesty, I don't think, and from what I've seen, that's all. I know I'm sounding and making excuses, but I don't think Strikers has as big a support base as Lions. Now, they may come out of the woodwork. At one time, they had 42,000, but I don't think they do. And I think being at home, the crowd will have an influence on the game because we've seen that in the past. The big games at Lions, they get the big crowd out there. But there's so many good players for Lions, just looking at them. Tynan Diaz needs to score. They've got Feder Hagic and Milan Jankovic. Not Milan Jankovic, that's his dad.
Marko Jankovic.
Marko Jankovic. They've got Nathan Shepherd. They've got Michael Butters. These are quality players who can turn a game on their own. Even if they had defenders, they've got Brody Kenyon, who is just apparently was fantastic last week on his return. It opens up different tactical avenues for them. They can play the long ball. They can play a more direct style. They can attack down the flanks. They're solid in the back. They've got the best goalkeeper in Brisbane. They've got a good bench to come on. They've got Mooney who can come on and do his bit. We know he's getting a little older, but he can still come on and do his bit. But for me, the crucial player is Shohil Khan. If he can find the form we know he's capable of, he can win this game on his own. And we know he's been a little bit off, but if he plays like he did in the FFA Cup last year against Croydon Kings, well, he can win the game on his own. So I believe that you also had a chat to Warren Moon.
To show how important these fixtures are, let's see what Warren Moon had to say.
Yeah, we're a good squad, and look, I am not conceding anything. I'm not making excuses that we've got these injuries and players have left, but I'm certainly aware of it, and we're a different side because of it. But yeah, we're top of the table still in our league, which is a massive achievement in my opinion, given the turnover we've had, and we're travelling well. And I'm confident in my players that I back them all, and I think they're all good enough to do the job on Sunday. Last year was a fantastic experience. They'll always have that memory. The boys that came in want to experience that. They're the ones that I'd say that are more determined and motivated, because if I'm being honest, it was probably a carrot that was dangling in front of them to come to the club in the first place. When they saw what we did last year, it gave them an opportunity or a chance to try and get there this year. It's never that easy to back up, but they're certainly excited by the prospect. I've said to them all along, this tournament's not about me, it's not about the club. There's no pressure from us to make it. It's all about them and what they want to achieve. Because you get onto the national stage and it could change someone's career. It could give someone an opportunity. For me, we're not going to win the FFA Cup. unless we just go on a massive fairy tale run. But it's very unlikely. So to get there, it's just an experience that you can enjoy, soak it up, take it up, and see what happens.
So, yeah, that was Lions coach Warren Moon there. Taking a look at the Brisbane Strikers, you've pleaded the case for the Lions. I'll plead the case for the Strikers. It's such an even matchup, these two sides almost.
I know.
They have played twice already in the pre-season. One of those pre-Christmas. One of those was the Silver Boot grand final. I did ask both coaches whether it actually, they could take anything away from that. And they obviously said, it's a lot of water under the bridge. And from that aspect, yeah, I do agree. Warren did say that, the Lions side that was back then is not the Lions side they are now. But in both those games, there were crucial moments like Lions went to sleep for a couple of minutes in that first match pre-Christmas. Bang, bang, Brisbane Strikers scored 2 goals.
Yep.
The incident in the Silver Boot grand final where Matthias Simic was carried off in an ambulance, that was a turning point. It's going to be those 1%ers that really will decide that match. You talked about Phil Zabax before as being the best keeper in Brisbane. Seb Usai's had an international experience, etc.
Absolutely, yep.
Greg Hensley is a wonderful defender.
Yep.
Amori, as we saw in the game against East, just turned that game on its heel.
He's probably their best player.
We know about Trent Clulo, his time at Wolves.
Oh, God, yeah.
Sean Carlos, again, comes up against his old side. And apparently has been tearing the place down in the last couple of weeks since he's come back from virus. Michael Angus controls that midfield well. Jake McLean, I could keep on going on. You've got you talked about Mooney coming off the bench. Well, Johnny Richter's on the bench for Strikers, and they'll also have the availability of Reece Meredith, who apparently has come up okay. But let's hear more from Brisbane Strikers coach Kevin Ahern-Evans.
Yeah, of course it does. It's highly anticipated game in the football fraternity, and rightly so. 2 proud clubs with a rich history and 2 very good playing groups as well. So everyone's really looking forward to the game, and it had little significance in short, to be honest, what happened in the Silver Boot final and what happened before Christmas. And we know exactly how good a side Lions are, and they'll probably be saying the same about us. So in that regards, it's all on for Sunday, and everyone's looking forward to it.
One player that might be taking particular interest in it is Sean Carlos, who, of course, was pretty much at Lions for all his playing career. Does it help him that he's probably already played 2 games against his side? It might get rid of some of those nerves. And has he mentioned anything about returning to Lions on such a big stage?
No, we haven't really spoke about it. But look, that was part of our thinking to play Lions as well, was just to help Sean get over the move sort of thing and get into life as a Brisbane Strikers player. And he suffered with a virus about 6 weeks ago. So for the last month, we've just been basically building back his strength. And the last couple of weeks, he's been excellent for us. Looked really dangerous. On another night, he could have got a hat-trick on the weekend against Brisbane Roar, and that's what we all know Sean Carlos delivers. There's very few better midfielders that has an ability of getting into goal-scoring opportunities, and people don't give him enough credit for what he does in the defensive box as well, So he was important for us against Roar in winning a couple of real important free kicks and corners against us, that is, obviously aerially. And that will be important again on the weekend. But in terms of mileage, there's probably not another midfielder in Brisbane that could get near the ground he covers in a game. And, he'll be looking forward to go and play in the game as much as anybody.
Here it is, Phil. This is probably the biggest game in Brisbane, the biggest game in Queensland in certainly the recent past.
Yep.
You've been looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to it. I spoke to Scott McNichol. He's been looking forward to it.
We were just hoping this would happen, really, weren't we?
We were sort of hoping it wouldn't happen, but at the same time hoping it did happen.
Well, in a sense, I was hoping it wouldn't happen because I'd like to see both teams in there because I think they are our best representatives. But this is cup football. And teams have got to go out. You don't get through by being the best. But I don't know. Look, for me, it's just impossible to predict. I really don't know. I think that the Strikers are going to need to be physical. There's a common myth that the Brisbane teams are more physical. The Strikers are going to need to be physical as well as skillful. I think Lions are going to have to hold. they're going to come up against some real, genuine pace, and they don't come up against that a lot. I can't go any further than tipping. I'm going to tip a draw, and I'm going to tip Lions to win in extra time.
I think it might be decided in 90 minutes somehow. But Kevin Ahern Evans put me to the sword today.
Uh-huh.
I said, Kev, mate, I change my mind every 5 minutes on this one at the moment. He said, and he actually conceded that, a lot of people are.
Yeah.
I don't know, Phil.
No, look, I don't know. Honestly,
all we know is I think we're going to have a fantastic spectacle.
It's going to be brilliant. If you miss this game, you don't follow Brisbane football. That's the way. That's as far as I'm concerned. It's the perfect time. It's the perfect game. It's the perfect venue. It's the perfect teams. Two great coaches. It has it all. It'll probably fizzle. It'll be the worst game we've ever had.
Let's hope not. All right, I'll
go on. I tip Lions, and I honestly, something inside me tells me the Strikers going to win, but I'm going to tip Lions.
I'm going to go Strikers in 90 minutes, and mainly is because they probably have a more settled squad there at the moment. But in saying that, we have talked about the injury concerns of Lions, but how adaptable is that squad in being able to shift around and still find results?
Incredible. Like some of their players, like Tim Morgan, and they are absolute quality, and they're fringe players, If I can see where there's... Look, I think the pace of the Strikers and the way they move the ball, because they move the ball really well, that could be their slight advantage. But I think that Lions are probably better at set pieces. They're a bit taller. And I know that height doesn't mean... I mean, look at Cato. He's not tall, but he's great in the air. But just that little bit of extra height. Anyway, all right, I'm going Lions, you're going Strikers, and
we could be here, as you've seen, as people listen to, we could probably talk about this all night.
Yes, we
could. But we're now chewing up their data allowance.
Yes.
So, look, as we said, get out to both games. Friday, 7 p.m. at the Cleveland Showgrounds.
We'll be at both
Redlands
games.
versus Rochdale. And then Sunday, 5 p.m, Lions Stadium. Lions versus Brisbane Strikers. Can't wait.
And we'll be streaming,
yes,
I believe.
So we'd like to see everyone out at the grounds. They're going to be fantastic matches, but if for some reason you can't get out there, there's going to be some live streaming of both these games. And hopefully not only will it attract some interest in Brisbane, it'd be great to see, nationwide interest in these two games. And
well, look, that's the goal, isn't it? Because people want to see that. And, of course, don't forget, with live streaming, it doesn't mean you have to watch it live. You can go to the game, you can go back home, and then you can watch it then, because if it's streamed live, it's available immediately once the game's finished. So it takes me back to my junior days, rushing home to watch the... But,
And we'll also have the extended highlights, the 10-minute highlights package of both games as well.
Yeah, we'll also have match report as soon as possible.
We're all over it, Phil.
Photographs, we'll have everything. The only two things we don't have at the moment are winners. I have been Phil Davis. And you have been Rafe Griffin.
I have.
And this was our extended show without looking at the time. I know it's been extended.
It is extended, but it's been worth it because, we can't say it enough, can we?
No, we can't say it enough. It's the biggest weekend of the season, and we love it. And we love you, Football Federation Australia, for bringing in this cup. We are going to go and talk more about it off air, and we will talk to you next week.